Hello, and welcome to the Community Worker Accelerated Program Information Session. My name is Rusa Jeremic. I am a professor and researcher in both the Community Worker Program and the Community Worker Accelerated Program. I have my contact information there, rjeremic@georgebrown.ca. If you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to contact me. I would like to begin with the Treaty and Land Acknowledgement. George Brown College is situated on the sovereign Indigenous territory of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Anishinaabe peoples, the Wendat, and the Mississaugas of the Credit River. We are all treaty people, accountable to the Dish with One Spoon, Two-Row Wampum, Treaty 13, and the Williams Treaty. We are committed to working in right relations with Indigenous peoples and authentic reconciliation in a good way. When gathering on Indigenous land, it is always important to express gratitude for the ability to gather here and also to acknowledge the ongoing treaty relationship between settlers and Indigenous peoples as a small step towards reconciliation. Our agenda for today includes an overview on what is community work, a little bit of information about the program itself and the coursework. I will discuss our field placement options, admission requirements, some of the services that exist to help you succeed in the program, transitioning to employment in the field, and provide some contact information at the end. The Community Worker Program is a dynamic social justice program that is grounded in the principles of human rights and anti-oppression and really looks at preparing students to work with a largely urban-centered, diverse communities across a range of issues that count as community work or that are understood to be community work. This includes anti-poverty work, working on housing rights, food justice, immigration and settlement, and many others. We are responsive to the multiple and changing needs of people in this city. So what is community work? We are often asked the difference between the social service worker program that is also available at George Brown and the community worker program. Social service work emphasizes one-on-one counseling relationships or small counseling relationships. There's also a focus or emphasis on service delivery vision, meaning that the emphasis is on meeting people's immediate needs. Now, while community workers, of course, also work to meet people's immediate needs, they can work with a broader range of groups. So in addition to working maybe one-on-one with individuals, you'll often find community workers are working with small groups, larger groups. They'll be working in communities, neighborhood organizations, community centers, racial or ethnic communities. You'll find community workers in social justice agencies, human rights organizations, and nonprofit groups. There is a strong focus on community organizing, community empowerment, and community development. Community workers are working at all levels. So they can be working at a local level in a neighborhood setting, but they could also be working at a provincial level, a national level, or even working globally as international community workers, all working towards positive social change. So we're remembering that community work emerges from a proud history of community-based organizing, advocacy, and activism. Community workers are committed to the full and equal inclusion of all peoples within societies, valuing equality, equity, diversity, and human dignity. when we say we are pursuing um, social justice, we are really referring to uh, human rights and the fulfillment of human rights for everybody, as opposed to a charity model. A charity-based model can create a dependency when you are meeting immediate needs, in the sense that charity work can operate in a circle, so that you're meeting somebody's immediate needs, but if you're not addressing the systemic issues that are causing that social issue in the first place, you will just continue to meet those immediate needs, continue to meet those immediate needs, and you'll never address the systemic injustice to actually no longer need to meet those immediate needs, because they will be fulfilled by broader society. So community workers begin with that understanding and analysis. We work in solidarity with communities and folks. We don't work for them. So that's part of this empowerment model that I'm referring to. We take an approach where we're very much walking alongside people and groups, rather than an approach that might appear as top-down, where we're working on behalf of communities, but we're actually just making the decisions ourselves on what's best for a community, rather than taking our lead from the communities themselves. So in that way, empowerment, solidarity, uh, allyship are really important in community work. And in that way, community workers act as catalysts to empower both individuals and communities. Community worker has multiple entries on working with people and communities. For example, as I've mentioned, a community worker may indeed be working with somebody to help meet their immediate needs, something that's very important, right? If you don't have housing and you need housing, that's an emergency situation. So some of those immediate needs might include things like shelter, food, health, income, safety, immigration status, resettlement. But community work doesn't stop there. Community work also works through communities, agencies, and as advocates and activists to address those systemic roots of injustice that are causing the issues. For example, a lack of food or inaccessible housing or inadequate income supports. So we might be working at the level of a food bank, and we are meeting at the food bank, we're meeting somebody's immediate needs because we're giving them food, right? So you can go into a food bank, you can access food. But the issue is, where it's a charity-based model, is that after a few hours or maybe a day, depending on how much food you're able to access, you're hungry again. So you need to re-access the food bank. So in adopting understanding, a critical analysis and an understanding of systemic roots, we would understand that the problem itself isn't just food insecurity, and that that problem hasn't actually resolved itself. Um, so by looking at those root causes of why people are accessing food bank, we might discover that, which is true and has been proven in Toronto, the majority of people accessing food banks are actually people who are working full time but on the minimum wage. So we can deduce from that situation, if we had an adequate minimum wage in Toronto, living wage, and if we work to change the law, the employment legislation law, so that we had this adequate living wage, fewer people would actually need to use and access the food bank on a regular basis. So that's what I mean when I say we also look at these systemic roots of injustice. We also act as advocates, and we work towards addressing some of those systemic roots. Community work itself encompasses a broad range of agencies, organizations that are working to address urgent needs, but also tackling systemic injustice. And community workers themselves, you gain that analysis and experience in the program so that you're able to take it out into the field and work as advocates. During the pandemic, a number of our graduates who work in the shelter system with unhoused folks were actually strong advocates for changes to that system that came to light as a result of the pandemic. The conditions in the shelter, the lack of security in shelters, the health concerns and the health threat of being housed in shelters, and the need for secure, permanent, accessible, and supportive housing. And the city began to listen. So really, when we think about community work, we understand that community workers work towards human rights and dignity for everybody. The program itself was founded in 1975, and it is one of the longest operating programs of its kind in Canada. It has a great reputation. It's highly regarded for its social justice advocacy and rights-based uh, programming. Um, and it is very well regarded for using that human rights lens in community work. The program itself is grounded in the principles of human rights and anti-oppression training and practice, um, both things that you will have the opportunity to learn about. And we are keen on preparing students to work with urban-centered and diverse communities across a range of sectors and issues. As you'll see through this info session, there are a broad range of streams of community work, and we really encourage our students to follow their passions. What are you interested in when it comes to community work? We will help you follow your passion and develop a level of expertise vis-a-vis that interest. The Community Worker Program is also connected to over 300 agencies and nonprofit organizations across the Greater Toronto Area. So we have these connections with these organizations, nonprofits that have had our students in the past, and you will have access to that. You'll have access to that database and support in helping you find your own placement. Pending approval, I like to say that our program has a 2-for-1 special. Pending approval, graduates of the Community Worker Program can also apply to the Ontario College of Social Workers and Social Service Workers for the additional professional designation of Registered Social Service Worker. So when you graduate from this community worker program, you can also choose to register yourself as a social service worker. So it's like 2 diplomas in one. Now, we are in negotiations. We're renegotiating this agreement. So to find any up-to-date information on this, you can contact the program coordinator, or we will have a listing on the website with the confirmation. This accelerated program, which is what this info session is about, is for applicants who already have an existing diploma or a previous degree. All right, so the program, the credential you're receiving is an Ontario College diploma. The method of study is full-time. The accelerated program lasts 1 year. So it's 5 weeks in May, June, and then 8 months in the fall. So it will be from September to April. So you will be in class starting the second week of May for 5 weeks full time. And then you would have a break until September, and you would be full time again from September to April. So full-time for the accelerated program, full-time really means full-time because it is accelerated. So in May, you would have 4 classes, and they're each held on a separate different day, but they're all day long. So they would be from 9 to 12 and then 1 to 4. And they really relate to the 4 streams of community work. So you would have community work theory, interpersonal communication skills from an anti-oppressive perspective, social and political analysis, and preparation for the field. This last course is the course where we will help support you to be a find a field placement for September. So the idea is that in the May-June period, you'll have all the necessary tools and support to go out and find and secure that placement for September. And our hope is that by the end of June, you have done so. So some of the key skills that you'll be learning in this program is as I've mentioned, anti-oppressive practice, intercultural practice, working with diverse populations, including immigrant populations, newcomers, hard to house or unhoused, Black and Indigenous populations, other racialized folks, young people, working in neighborhood communities or ethnic communities, um, arts, and very broad range of populations that you can work with in this program. You'll be looking at critical analysis, research and writing skills, how to address systemic anti-Black and anti-Indigenous racism and other forms of discrimination, discrimination against 2S LGBTQIA plus folks, for example. You'll be learning about group facilitation skills, individual and group counseling skills, conflict de-escalation and restorative justice, community organizing, activism, community advocacy, campaigning, community development, program design and proposal writing, policy analysis, and rights-based advocacy. So you get a sense of the broad range of skills that you would gain through the 1 year of that you would be in the program. So it's a broad range, and it really does lend itself to that broad understanding of community work. So our coursework is very participatory. So rather than, for those of you who have experience with university, sometimes the tendency in the university setting is for the instructor to lecture at you for 2 hours or 3 hours. And that's very much not our program. Our program is highly participative. We have lots of dialogue, debate. Our lectures are interactive, where the instructor is engaging with you in dialogue. We have guest panels. We have lots of group activities in each class where you're practicing skills as well. So we do have this degree of expectation of participation in each class. So not just attending and coming in through a lecture, but also very much engaging in the material and learning about the material. So the approach is more active. It includes experiential learning and provides you all lots of opportunities for that experiential learning to test out some of the skills. So in many respects, we really strive to replicate the field in the classroom, replicate what you might encounter in your workplace setting in the classroom, to give you that opportunity on how you would engage and to test out some of the skills you're learning. There's approximately 6 to 7 courses per semester. Your field practice course, so when you're at your field practicum, and your field seminar count as 2 of those classes. So in addition to going into your field practicum in September, so that would start in September and go to April, that would be 2 days a week where you will be at your agency or organization. So you'll also have a field seminar class where you can engage with your peers and colleagues on what you're encountering in the field, share your knowledge and wisdom and experience, problem solve if anything, if anything is coming up or there's conflicts emerging, how to problem solve relationships and scenarios in your actual field, and help you advance in developing your professional relationship with the agency that you're working at. The total number of hours required is 400 hours, which works out to those 2 days per week in semester 3 and 2 days per week in the winter, as I mentioned. we really feel that the fieldwork seminar is that supportive opportunity. We also try and offer a number of networking opportunities. So this will include things like employment panels with nonprofit or agency representatives. Most often, these are our graduates themselves who have transitioned into the field and are working in the field. Um, we will have other types of panels and opportunities for you to engage with um, alumni and other professionals who are working in the community work sector. We have program specialization courses that are taught by community agency representatives. And again, these are often our students who have developed an expertise in a particular area, have been working in that area for quite some time. So sometimes these can change depending on the situation. But to give you a snapshot of some examples of the program specializations, we have had in the past a course focused on housing and homelessness, another focused on community legal issues, food justice, immigration and settlement. So you get a sense of the types of courses that are available in that program specialization. And we encourage, once again, folks to think about where they want to be vis-a-vis their professional career, and to then choose a program specialization that can help you advance in that career, in that chosen profession. In admission requirements, so applicants do require a previous diploma, college diploma, or bachelor's degree. Applicants with international transcripts who do not provide English language proficiency tests, you will need to take a test at the college level, and George Brown College has English assessment tests. So they may suggest that you take the test before you're actually accepted into the program, or you may be able to be accepted in the program on the condition of taking the test. In both cases, until you take that test, you won't be officially able to proceed in the program. And so you would contact this assessment center. They have a number of options available, and they do online testing to make it a little bit easier for folks, especially in this time. Domestic students, so if you're a domestic student, you can apply through ontariocolleges.ca. You would just search for C131, the course code, or by name, Community Worker Accelerated Program, and you can apply there. And international students, you would actually apply directly through George Brown's online application system, and you can see there the address is applynow.georgebrown.ca /international /. You can also just go to search for the International Office of George Brown College, and you will find the application process there, and you will also find folks available to speak with you if you have any questions about your application. All right, student success. So you'll be very successful in our program if you're passionate about human rights and social justice, and you're committed to working with diverse communities. Now, let me say, if you're not too well versed in human rights or social justice, or don't really know what anti-oppressive practice means, if you do, or you're interested in working with diverse communities, but you haven't done that yet, then don't worry, you're in the right place. What we're looking for is people who are open to learning, open to challenging their own assumptions, thinking about that self-reflective practice to become better community workers, and who are open to adopting an anti-oppressive practice. You will learn all of these tools during your time in the program, and it will help you open up and understand your own situation, how you're situated vis-a-vis community work. So you don't have to have the expertise before coming into the program. We will work with you to develop those critical skills together. In addition, I wanted to take a moment to mention the wide variety of student success supports that are available to you. We have counseling services, so mental health counseling. We have drop-in programs. We also work with a counselor that is dedicated to our program. We have accessible learning services. So this is for learning accommodations that may support people who are facing some sort of obstacle or disadvantage. I'll point out here that once you decide you're in the program and you're registered and accepted, I would then suggest that you reach out to the accessibility office and arrange a meeting to discuss what potential learning accommodations you may or may not need. Additionally, uh, learning accommodations can be temporary. So this is just a bit of a tip you may need if you face a medical emergency during the year. You may, through the accessibility consultant, also be able to get a temporary accommodation for a brief amount of time that would help alleviate any stress around assignments, needing extensions, for example, etc., etc. There is also a tutoring and learning center. They're amazing. Often you'll find uh, graduates working at the Tutor and Learning Center who have gone through the program. This is another additional free service where you can set up an appointment and they can help you, or a series of appointments, and they can help you with your assignments. I recommend this sometimes for folks who have been out of school for a while and feel like they've forgotten how to write. Sometimes I feel that way, but it's perfectly natural. So if you feel that you're a little out of practice around writing or organizing your thoughts in an essay format, um, or if you want to check your grammar and English and the cohesion, it's a great idea to try out the tutoring and learning service. They can really help you improve and also help you, give you pointers as you editing together. You can learn a lot, and they can give you pointers on how to organize your thoughts. The library also has workshops on how to research, how to cite sources properly so that you're avoiding plagiarism. We work with a specific librarian for the program, so you're able to work with somebody that you can get to know if you need any support. There's online learning supports as well. There's housing supports, and George Brown now does have its own first student residence. It's small, but it does exist. So if you are traveling to Toronto to take the program, you could check out the student residence that's available and find out if that will be an interesting option for you. There's also support for students facing food insecurity and career support through the Career Center. You'll get a chance in your field seminars and in the field practicum in May, you would get a chance to meet some of the folks in the Career Center as they'll come into the classroom to help you with some of your applications. The Student Association engages in a lot of important student advocacy. They have a SNAP program, Student Nutritional Accessible Program, that offers a wide variety of nutritional supports. And they do have other kinds of supports as well. So the Student Association, of course, you'll have health benefits through the Student Association and access to a lawyer if you need to speak to a lawyer. So you'll have a number of opportunities for accessing services through the Student Association itself. All right, so graduates in the field. So this gives you just a very brief, it's not exclusive, it gives you a very brief idea of the types of work that some of our graduates are doing. It's not exclusive. So we do have a number of community workers do end up working in newcomer settlement. There's a good alignment of the training you receive to work with newcomers. And also human rights of 2S LGBTQIA plus folks. and human rights in general, I would say. We have folks who have worked in organizations focusing on human rights, developing curriculum, leading workshops, um, housing workers, shelter workers. A number of our students are working at the city, through the city, in shelters. I mentioned earlier that our grads were sort of at the forefront of um, advocacy around better conditions for the unhoused, for the folks that they work with, and that as a result of those advocacy campaigns, there has been some advances made at the city. So that's very exciting. The city also has community development office and programming. We have had students placed there in the past, but community development initiatives, broadly speaking, and you'll find in a lot of neighborhood centers or community centers. There's also neighborhood advocacy groups. Some alumni end up working with seniors in different capacities. Food justice is a big area where a lot of our students may end up working, and also these are other options for placements. So, you know, people can end up working at food centers such as the Stop or Food Share. There's interesting urban agricultural projects in the city of Toronto, like Black Creek Community Farm. There's many different kinds of initiatives on food justice, as there is with the other programs, other sort of streams of community work that I've mentioned here. Further roles that our graduates hold, harm reduction worker. Harm reduction is another field or area where a number of our students do end up working, because it looks at substance addiction from an empowerment perspective, from a solidarity perspective, rather than a punitive or rehabilitation perspective. So settlement worker, I've mentioned, community hub resource coordinator. So there's community hubs. So somebody who might be offering information about resources, where to go for whatever you need. Popular educator. We have graduates working in constituency offices of MPPs, some provincial members of parliament, which is another really interesting area of work. And definitely community work, because constituency offices, you are fielding all of the phone calls and visits from residents in the area who need a wide variety of help. So it can also be an interesting placement to kind of get a sense of frontline community work. Working as a human rights advocate, senior support program coordinator, so programs with seniors, employment counselor. We have a number of students that have transitioned into employment counselor roles. Again, that kind of can also bridge with newcomers, so it can be a bridge of themes. So there we are. That gives you a sense of the type of work that's also out there. You can see from those last two slides that there's really a lot of different sectors and interests of work, and there's many more that I haven't mentioned. We have folks that work in community-based arts programming, for example, working with youth and arts, so folks working at agencies like Sketch. A wide variety of passions and pursuits. And as I've mentioned before, we really want to support you in your chosen journey around community work. So we want to help you identify your passion and interest within community work if you haven't already done so. And if you have, we want to be able to support you, help you build the skills necessary to transition into the workplace, help you build your resume, and help you through networking, help you connect with others who are working in the area that you're interested in. So let me close by saying that we really look forward to working with you, and I hope to see all of you in spring. I'll be teaching one of those courses. So I really do look forward to seeing and hearing from you. If you have any further questions, please contact Farhia Abdi, who is a professor in our program and the current program coordinator. You can contact her at this email, cwcoordinator@georgebrown.ca, and take a look at the web page. We do have monthly info sessions, live info sessions, where you'll get a chance to learn more about the program, but also ask any questions that you have. And a final reminder, if you're interested in the program, once you're interested in the program and you know that's what you want to do, I suggest that you go ahead and register because it is first come, first serve. So thank you so much, everybody. Have a great day, and I look forward to seeing all of you in the spring. Take care.